Minerals, vitamins, and nutrients of all microwave foods is reduced or altered so that the human body gets little or no benefit, or the human body absorbs altered compounds that cannot be broken down. The minerals and vegetables are altered into cancerous free radicals when cooked in a microwave oven. Microwave foods cause stomach and intestinal cancerous growths, i.e. tumours, and this has been a primary contributor to the rapidly increased rate of colon cancer in the United States. Welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. I'm your host, Leigh Brandon. This work started for me several decades ago when I started to see the impact I could make on people, helping them to identify the root cause of their health problems that no doctor could figure out, including serious back, knee, shoulder and neck injuries, acne and eczema issues, severe gut health problems, even helping couples get pregnant after several IVF treatments had failed. And it really moves me to be able to help people in this way. And that is why I do what I do and why we have this show. In this week's episode of the Radical Health Rebel podcast, I go solo to share with you my experience of the last 27 years coaching people on eating for optimal health and the biggest mistakes I see people making where nutrition has played a role in their health condition, whether it be acne, eczema, psoriasis, constipation, diarrhoea, chronic pain, or any other chronic degenerative disease. And with the ever-increasing rates of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and mental health problems, all of which having a nutritional component, I thought this was a subject I just had to tackle. The destruction of quality of life and early deaths many of these diseases cause is totally avoidable. I can honestly say, out of the hundreds, possibly thousands of people I've helped overcome a health challenge over the years, I've never had a client who's been eating the right diet for them when they first contact me. As you're probably already aware, nutrition is one of the 6 foundational factors of health. And without having optimal nutrition on board, it's simply not possible to optimize your health. So this is a very important subject, and I hope this episode will help identify any areas of your diet which you may wish to improve so that you can live a more fun-filled, healthy, productive, fulfilling, and happy life. Just as I did in episode 17, entitled The Top 10 Gym Mistakes, I will start with nutrition fail number 10 and work my way up to the number 1 nutrition fail. I will also be providing solutions as I go, so it won't be all doom and gloom. So nutrition fail number 10 is trying to supplement your way out of a poor diet. So what do I mean by that? Well, I've seen people who eat a less than optimal diet and think that they can use dietary supplements to make up for the lack of nutrients in their diet. I guess for many, it would be great if that did work, but unfortunately, it might be creating more of a problem than not supplementing at all. I'm not suggesting that dietary supplements aren't useful at times, but what I am suggesting is eating a poor quality diet, and I'll explain what I mean by poor quality a bit later, cannot be compensated by taking supplements. In some instances, supplements are just there to support the nutrients from the diet, such as enzymes and hydrochloric acid, which help digestion. But if they are helping you digest poor quality food, are they really helping? Another example is when someone is consuming the wrong macronutrient ratio for them, so macronutrients being fats, proteins, and carbs. So someone might be eating, for instance, way too many carbs and not sufficient fats and proteins for their type. And again, I'll get onto that a bit later. But may benefit from supplementing with, say, iron and vitamin B12, yet taking a mineral supplement or vitamin supplement in isolation can imbalance specific minerals and also can use up other vitamins. So it's quite a dangerous game to play. In addition, most store-bought supplements are synthetic, so they're made in a lab rather than from real food. They're very poor quality, and cause an immune response in the body, creating systemic inflammation. And of course, again, a lot of chronic degenerative diseases have an inflammatory aspect to them. So cheap fish oil and omega-3 fatty acid supplements, whilst often needed today, are often contaminated with mercury and also turn rancid very easily. If someone can't afford good quality supplements, in most cases, I would suggest not using them at all, apart from some exceptions. Ideally, I recommend, when required, high quality, made from real food supplements that are, in most instances, made in alignment with their metabolic type, which I'll also go into a bit later. Coming in at number 9 of nutrition fails is believing healthy food is too expensive. Now, there's no doubt that pound for pound, higher quality food is more expensive. For instance, if you buy beef that's been raised on cheap, toxic grains and kept in a pen where it doesn't get any exercise, is filled with antibiotics and growth hormones to fatten it up, and eats from the same floor that it uses to urinate and defecate on, then that is going to be cheaper than beef that has been raised by a farmer who takes proper care of the cow, allows it to eat its own natural diet, which is grass, uses minimal to no pharmaceuticals, and is able to exercise freely and to grow and develop naturally. However, when you eat high quality food as close as possible to the foods our ancestors would have eaten, which is much higher in nutrient content and bioavailability, then you don't need to eat as much. So you don't need to eat as much food to be satisfied. In addition, when you eat right for your metabolic type, you don't need to eat as much food as well. And you generally don't need to snack as much, and you can save a small fortune not needing to buy snacks such as, biscuits, sweets, crisps, or cookies or French fries, or, wherever you're from, what you might call them. So eating healthily doesn't necessarily need to cost any more than eating unhealthily if you follow the rest of the recommendations that I'm going to suggest. Coming in at number 8 of nutrition fails is eating foods that you are sensitive to. So whether due to genetic or environmental factors, there are some foods that just do not agree with us. Whether a food sensitivity or food allergy, so those two things are different, they both create an immune response, which creates systemic inflammation and can cause leaky gut syndrome. A leaky gut can also lead to food sensitivity or a worsening of a food sensitivity, which is a bit of a chicken and egg situation. I've seen food sensitivities and allergies play a causal role in conditions such as acne, eczema, hay fever, Crohn's disease, IBS symptoms, costochondritis, arthritis, and more. Oftentimes, we're simply unaware that we have these sensitivities or allergies, either because we're not in tune with our bodies that well, and that would be most people, by the way, or you get so used to the negative effects that it becomes your norm. When working with clients, generally I offer 2 choices. One is to have a blood test, which tests for different types of immune response. So that's IgA, IgG, IgG4, and complement. Again, it's beyond the scope of this podcast to go into those. I might do a whole different episode on that a bit later. So these tests can be done via blood serum, which requires a blood draw, and for the blood to be put through a centrifuge and the serum extracted. But it can also be done via a finger prick test, which can be performed at home without a phlebotomist. So the test that I currently use is called the P88 antigen test by Precision Point Diagnostics. And I found it extremely helpful to identify my clients' offending foods. I do also offer an option that is a cheaper option because it's free, but it does take considerably more time and effort. So it's called the pulse test. And with the pulse test, you sit down quietly for 5 minutes. Then you take your pulse for 1 minute. You can use an oximeter, just stick it on the end of your finger and it will work out your pulse for you. Or, if you're quite comfortable finding your radial pulse and you're able to count each beat accurately, then that's fine too. And what you do is you write down your pulse at the end of the minute. So that's your baseline. Then you place one food item, and I'd probably suggest you start with the ones you're most suspicious of. And some of the most common ones tend to be wheat and dairy. They're probably the two most common. So you place a food item under your tongue for 1 minute, and then you retake your pulse again for 1 minute. If your pulse has reduced or increased by 4 beats per minute or more by the end of the minute, then your immune system is reacting to that food. So that would be a food that you would need to eliminate from your diet for a period of time. And I'd probably suggest 8 weeks would be the minimum time you want to eliminate the foods for. If you wanted to then test another food, what you need to do is to rinse your mouth out and wait until the pulse has dropped back to the original rate before you test again. So once you know which food you're sensitive to, it's important not just to cut them out of your diet, but to replace them with something else. So this psychologically prevents you from feeling like you're being deprived, as at least you've replaced one food with something else. Okay, so that really works well for the psychology. When 35-year-old Amanda first scheduled to see me, she'd been suffering for 19 years from severe IBS, diarrhoea and fecal incontinence, along with abdominal pain and bloating. Her condition had not only made life uncomfortable for Amanda, but very inconvenient, as she had to walk 2 hours to work every day along a route that had public toilets, and she'd never been on holiday as an adult because of her condition. The only advice that several doctors and specialists had given Amanda was to take Imodium, and when she first saw me, she was taking 5 Imodium a day and wasn't getting any better. To help Amanda, I ran tests to find out what foods were right for her metabolic type, to see which foods she was sensitive to, and to assess her gut microbiome. Tests showed that Amanda had several food sensitivities and a parasite infection. Over the coming weeks, I coached Amanda to eat right for her type and to replace the foods she was sensitive to, and a protocol to deal with her parasite infection. And after 3 months, Amanda was IBS-free, and she also reported her skin was much improved and she had lost weight. And she booked a holiday for her and her husband to New York, as they'd never been on a proper honeymoon because of her IBS. And if you're suffering like Amanda was, and you want to get to the root cause of your problem, you can arrange a consultation with me at www.bodycheck.co.uk. And if we're a good fit, I could help you achieve the same kind of results as Amanda. Now, back to the podcast. Coming in at number 7 of nutrition files is prioritizing taste over health. So I see this very often. Indeed, there wouldn't be a queue blocking traffic outside of McDonald's a few miles from my home every Sunday if this wasn't the case. Sadly, I see many people whose only criteria for what foods they eat is how it tastes. No thought of how it might make them feel in an hour or two, and no thought, what it might do to them over the decades, and then, be none the wiser as they age and they suffer from obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and or cancer, which, one of those 4 practically everyone will get at some point. I do feel that part of this is due to the belief that healthy food can't possibly be tasty. Now, I'm certainly not the best cook in the world, far from it. And whilst I have a passion for food and good nutrition, I just don't have any passion for cooking. However, even though my meals are healthy and I don't take lots of time preparing my food, I still make sure that they're tasty. So as someone who has eaten high quality food for over 2 decades, when I eat something that is lower quality, for instance, if I'm eating out, I can taste very clearly that it's a lower quality food because it's devoid of taste. I went to the London podcast show the other week and I ate a meal from Pret a Manger, which for those that aren't familiar It's a chain of food outlets, but they're probably one of the highest quality food outlets in the UK. But even though they're well known for being one of the highest quality food outlets, what I found was that the salad that I had, even though it was fresh, compared to what I would eat at home, was it was quite devoid of flavor and vitality. So when cooking for myself, I do use very simple things to spice up my meals. So I use Steenberg's organic herbs and spices. I especially love their lemon chicken rub, their Jamaican jerk seasoning, and also their korma masala. I was also introduced to Fresh Jack's spices by the Czech Institute, who very kindly sent me a box as a gift at Christmas. And I loved them so much, even though they don't ship to the UK, I managed to work out a way to get them shipped to the UK because I love them so much. So there's really no excuse to make your healthy food taste great. If I can do it, someone that's got absolutely no passion in cooking whatsoever, I'm pretty sure that anyone else can too. The other issue that I'm going to add to fail number 7 is using unhealthy food as a treat. It simply doesn't make sense to eat healthily for a week, and then the way you reward yourself is to eat unhealthy food. There's absolutely nothing wrong with rewarding yourself, but how about choosing something to reward yourself that doesn't include undoing some of the good work that you did during the week? There are plenty of other ways that you can reward yourself, such as going to a great restaurant that serves great food, going to a spa and having treatments. Generally for guys, you might want to go and have a track day with the lads driving fast cars around a racetrack. Whatever floats your boat, but without sinking the boat, if you get my drift. Coming in at number 6 of nutrition fails is microwaving your foods, and this is a big one for me. Now, I performed extensive research into microwave ovens when I was creating the module on my electromagnetic radiation module for my continuing professional education course called Heal Them. I was very aware of the dangers and downsides of microwave ovens over 20 years ago. In fact, I threw away my microwave oven in the 1990s for that reason. And just in case you're unaware of the dangers of eating food cooked in a microwave oven, here's 10 reasons based on Swiss, Russian, and German clinical studies. So continually eating food processed from a microwave oven causes long-term permanent brain damage by shorting out electrical impulses in the brain, by depolarizing or demagnetizing brain tissue. The human body cannot metabolize, i.e. break down the unknown byproducts created in microwave food. Male and female hormone production is shut down and or altered by continually eating microwaved foods. The effects of microwaved food byproducts are residual, so long-term and permanent within the human body. Minerals, vitamins, and nutrients of all microwave foods is reduced or altered so that the human body gets little or no benefit, or the human body absorbs altered compounds that cannot be broken down. The minerals and vegetables are altered into cancerous free radicals when cooked in a microwave oven. Microwave foods cause stomach and intestinal cancerous growths, i.e. tumours, and this has been a primary contributor to the rapidly increased rate of colon cancer in the United States. The prolonged eating of microwave foods causes cancerous cells to increase in human blood. Continual ingestion of microwave foods causes immune system deficiencies through lymph gland and blood serum alterations. Eating microwave foods causes loss of memory, concentration, emotional instability, and a decrease of intelligence, which will likely cause them to continue to use their microwave oven. Should you still choose to use a microwave oven? I mean, I hope you don't, having listened to that information. It's recommended that you leave the kitchen whilst the microwave oven is in use, because all microwave ovens leak microwaves. Microwave ovens use similar frequencies to mobile phones, and these microwaves are selectively absorbed by water and fat. Eyes are very sensitive to these frequencies, and there is an increased likelihood of developing cataracts. So it's really important not to stand in front of a microwave oven to watch your food heating. One way that you can test your microwave oven to see if it's leaking, assuming that you have mobile phone coverage where your microwave oven is located, is to put your mobile phone inside the oven, but whatever you do, do not turn it on with your phone in there. And then if you call the phone and it rings, the signal had to pass through the walls of the microwave oven. And microwave ovens are allowed by US law to leak as much as 5 milliwatts per centimetre squared. According to environmental consultant Stan Hartman, microwave ovens put out huge, extremely low field magnetic fields, comparable to the fields from garbage disposals. And the control panels of the microwave ovens usually have very strong, extremely low field magnetic fields around them. And this is even when the oven is off but plugged in. So even when they're not switched on, they're still giving off harmful electromagnetic radiation. So studies on microwave ovens have shown risk of childhood leukemia actually doubles. A Kaiser Permanente epidemiological study found an up to 6-fold increased risk in spontaneous abortions among pregnant women. Staying away from the higher extremely low field electromagnetic fields of microwave ovens, as well as from the radio frequency fields being emitted, should be a high priority to avoid increasing the likelihood of serious disease. Microwave ovens have tremendous altering effects on foods that cause serious consequences on health if eaten regularly, including leukemia and miscarriages. All microwave ovens leak and should never be stood near when in use to avoid serious disease. When 30-year-old Leigh came to see me, she had severe cystic acne, including big red boils and scarring all over her face. She had one of the worst cases of acne I had seen at that point. Leigh had tried everything her doctor and dermatologist had suggested, such as antibiotics, hormone medications, creams and lotions, and her skin continued to get worse. As you can imagine, Leigh's confidence and self-esteem was at an all-time low, and she also suffered from anxiety. Leigh felt unattractive and concerned that her partner would leave her because of the way she looked, and she was worried about being alone for the rest of her life. I made it clear to Leigh that we had to find the underlying cause of her acne. So I ran some tests and we found out that she had food sensitivities to dairy, soy, and gluten. I coached Leigh how to replace those foods in her diet and also advised on other foods known to cause acne, as well as other essential lifestyle factors to balance her hormones and detox her body. It was a long road for Leigh, but Leigh has been acne-free for many years now. Her confidence and self-esteem has returned, her anxiety has gone, and she is now happily married with children. If you have acne and you want to get to the root cause of the problem, why not arrange a consultation with me at www.bodycheck.co.uk so you can achieve the same kind of results as Leigh. Now, back to the podcast. Coming in at number 5 is not optimizing your digestion. The first thing that we need to consider before we eat, other than what we're going to eat, is how we're going to eat it. In order to digest foods effectively, we need to be in a parasympathetic state, or put more simply, in a relaxed, stress-free environment. I often see people eating on the run, at their desk at work, or in front of the TV watching the depressing mainstream news. The problem with eating in a stressful environment is that when we are stressed or in a state of fight or flight, our blood flow is directed away from our internal organs, including the organs of digestion, and towards our muscles so that we can fight or flight. So when we're in a stressful environment, we are physically incapable of digesting our foods effectively, which means that we can't access all the nutrients in our food and can lead to food sensitivities. Stress is also known to cause a leaky gut syndrome, which again can lead to systemic inflammation and health challenges. So it's important when you're eating to find a relaxing area, to sit at a table away from work or from the TV. Take your time, make sure you're relaxed as much as you can. Some types of music, such as classical, have also been found to aid digestion. I also see many people who do not chew their food properly. Chewing is a crucial part of the digestive process where enzymes in our saliva help break down the foods, and the chewing grinds down the food into smaller parts to make it easier to digest. Another important of digestion is ensuring that you're hydrated before you eat to enable you to produce the necessary digestive juices. So a glass of water, good quality water, around 15 minutes before you eat is ideal. To avoid diluting the digestive juices too much, it's advised not to drink too much water until around an hour after eating. Some people do not have adequate digestive juices, such as hydrochloric acid, enzymes, or bile acids. Hydrochloric acid in the stomach helps to break down proteins and helps to keep out pathogens. Enzymes in the small intestine break down foods into smaller constituent parts, whether they are fats, proteins, or carbohydrates. And bile acids released from the gallbladder help to digest fats. Some people do need to supplement hydrochloric acid, digestive enzymes, and/or bile acids to aid their digestion, and the requirement does generally increase with age. Coming in at number 4 is failing to plan your meals. One of the biggest stumbling blocks I see is people not planning their meals. The old saying, failing to plan is planning to fail, is so true when it comes to nutrition. This is very true when it comes to the foods that you buy when you do your cooking or planning to eat out at a restaurant that can serve your needs. What I see many people fail to do is to plan for potential obstacles that could get in the way of their success. Several things that I've seen people allow to derail their healthy lifestyle includes socializing with friends, watching or playing sports, friend or family dinner parties, weddings, holidays and vacations, traveling for business, if they're out shopping, business meetings at mealtime, such as breakfast, lunch, or dinner, work canteens and restaurants, work parties, entertaining clients, and going to conferences. I've heard many times people say situations came up like those listed above, and that meant that they were unable to stay on track. Without question, those above scenarios make things a little challenging, but unlike what most people think, they still have the ability to respond to the situation. If you wait until you arrive at the event or the activity, then you may well be limited in your choices. However, if you plan ahead, the amount of control you have and ability to stay on track will greatly increase. One of the greatest excuses I hear is that when any of the above mentioned events occur, they do not have control over what food they can eat. But is that really true? What they're saying is, I do not have the ability to respond to the situation, or I have not planned ahead and are left with minimal options. There are several things that you can do to stay on track and maintain a level of control over the foods that you eat. Regardless of the event, you can always investigate ahead of time. Some things that you can consider are finding out what's on the menu. This usually requires a phone call or a little internet search. You can find out whether they serve organic food or whether they have a gluten-free menu, for instance. Do they prepare and cook their food properly, or do they destroy their food in a microwave oven? What kinds of drinks are available? What kinds of restaurants are nearby if you're going to be out all day? Many of the solutions to staying on track do require a little work, but if you're serious about having clear skin for the rest of your life, or getting rid of your constipation, your diarrhea, or if you want to get out of pain, or if you just want to, be full of energy and live a happy and healthy life, it's a really small price to pay. Some solutions that my clients have used successfully include taking their own food from home, even when they've traveled on airplanes, completing a weekly meal plan, cooking at weekends and freezing meals ready to use during the week, taking a little food to add to what is available at an event, taking their own drinking water, choosing restaurants that serve organic food and have gluten-free options, asking their workplace to provide healthier and gluten-free options, telling their work clients that they're going teetotal under doctor's orders, even if that's a little white lie. When in a position overseas where they can't access organic food, they ensure that it's right for their type. Avoid any ingredients that can exacerbate their issues. Research holiday destinations and visit locations that have a good reputation for high quality food. If going to a dinner or dinner party or family meal, let them know your dietary requirements ahead of time and ask them if they can cater for you. Take any food with you that they are unwilling or unable to provide if you require it. And why not invite people to dinner with you so you're in control of the menu? I also encourage my clients to make a 4-day diet plan every season so they can create a varied diet across the week and eat different foods as the seasons change too. This then gives them a list of foods to buy when they do their grocery shopping, and I advise them to only buy foods from their list and nothing else from the naughty aisles. Coming in at number 3 is not eating right for your metabolic type. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is not understanding that there is a right diet for them and for them only. I see too many people trying diets that may have worked for other people, so they might have seen them in a magazine, online, etc., or read it in a book. But that's like assuming all your bodily measurements and hormone levels will be exactly the same as someone else. Not eating right for your type often, in my experience, causes people to not feel satiated after eating, excessive hunger, blood sugar imbalances, mood swings, lethargy, and feeling sleepy after lunch, having excess body weight, and I could go on, but you get the point. William Walcott, the world's most renowned expert on metabolic typing and the author of the Metabolic Typing Diet, has made it clear that the right diet for you is dependent predominantly on your genetics, but secondly, your environment. At a basic level, if your ancestors over the last 10,000 years came from a cold climate where the ground freezes for part of the year, where there was an abundance of game meats available, your body is likely to flourish with a diet high in animal-based foods, plus a little plant-based foods. Conversely, if your ancestors came from a warm climate with access to vegetation all year round and very little meat or fish available, your body is likely to flourish with a diet high in plant-based foods with a little animal-based foods. Not only does eating right for your metabolic type increase energy, normalize body weight and eliminate cravings, but it also enables optimal energy production in every cell in your body. When each cell in your body produces adequate energy, it will also optimize detoxification of the cells, which reduces the likelihood of disease. Coming in at number 2 is eating commercially raised foods. When I say commercially raised foods, I'm referring to farming techniques that use toxic pesticides and fertilizers. These toxic chemicals poison the food we eat and make the food deficient in nutrients. Nutrient density is reliant on the amount and diversity of microbes in the soil. So when toxic chemicals are used, they kill off these life-giving microbes, all in the name of profit over health, sadly. The damage done to any individual and the environment is quite frankly scary when people eat foods grown and raised with these dangerous chemicals. When people do not insist on organic or biodynamic, or preferably regeneratively grown and raised produce, they are unwittingly causing themselves nutrient deficiencies, needing to overeat to make up for the lack of nutrients, poisoning themselves and destroying the very farmland they rely on to provide their food. As mentioned earlier, you don't necessarily have to spend more money to buy good quality food. If you follow all the advice from this episode, you won't need to eat as much food, and you won't need to snack as much, if at all, and you'll be much happier and healthier. Coming in at number 1 is not setting core values around your food intake. So why have I put core values at number 1? Well, quite frankly, it's all well and good knowing what to do or what to eat, but actually doing it is a different proposition. I've said for many years that for us practitioners, often the toughest thing for us to do is not necessarily to give the right advice, but to ensure that our clients actually follow the advice. It doesn't matter how good a diet or nutrition plan is. If the person doesn't follow it, it's useless. It's our core values that drive our decision-making, our behaviors, and help form beliefs. Core values serves as criteria or standards guiding the choice or evaluation of our actions. We decide what is justified or not based on the possible impact our decision would have on our values. The importance of having core values is so you're never suggesting to yourself that you should do or must do something. You want to be doing things because you choose to and not because you should or you must. Should do and must do infers that an external force is telling you to do something. When you choose to do something, it's because you have chosen to do it. So when you set clear core values around your diet, and you can, of course, set core values around any part of your life, it makes it easier to make the right choices. Having core values is a little like having a roadmap or set of rules to follow to achieve your goals. My own core values around food are: I eat right from a metabolic type 100% of the time. I eat organic meals and wild fish 20 times per week out of 21 meals. I always avoid gluten and dairy except butter due to sensitivities. I drink 2 to 3 litres of remineralized reverse osmosis filtered water each day, or more if exercising, or if it's a hot day, or if I'm having a sauna that day. I eat my meals at 8 a.m., 11:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. 6 days a week. I eat lunch a little later on the Sunday as I'm nearly always out at that time. And I allow myself a Thai or Indian meal occasionally, even though I'm sensitive to chili peppers. There will be consequences for me the next day, but I make that choice consciously as I really love Asian food. So it's not about living like a monk. We all need to decide what our core values are. I spend a fair bit of my time coaching clients, helping them create their own core values. And I've seen the great effect that it has on their behaviors and their results. I just wish to wrap up this episode by stating that it's more important than ever to be aware of what constitutes good nutrition. And it's crucial that we fight tooth and nail to ensure that we continue to have access to real food, good quality food, despite the fact that there is a globalist agenda to take real food away from the people and force us to eat lab-grown, patented food, including bugs, all in the name of the fake climate emergency. If they get away with it, this food will be, of course, owned by monopolist, technocratic, psychopathic globalists who know this kind of diet will wipe out most of us and make those who survive totally reliant on pharmaceuticals, which they also own, to deal with the symptoms of the fake chemically laden food. It's important that we do all we can to stand up for what is rightfully ours, If we don't, there won't be anything left for future generations. On that happy note, I just want to say that's all from me for this week. But don't forget, you can join me same time, same place next week on the Radical Health Rebel podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to give the show a rating and a review, and I'll see you next time.